Well, everything should be running tickaboo. Okay. Hi, it's me. I've been away for a hot minute. I started streaming at 1 o'clock today and then immediately went, oh, I haven't turned on some of the things. So I had to take a second to fix that. But this is good. This is good. Trial and error. And the reason trial and error is that I have changed up everything lately in the studio, and I'll get to that in a second. I've been away because start of the year I didn't have any projects immediately on the go, and that quickly changed so that I started putting out the first 10 pages of an ongoing sci-fi story, and immediately got caught up with a bunch of things to do, and had to take a moment and to go do those things. So I'm back, and I thought that I've got the next 5 pages laid out for this ongoing story. I'm going to be posting those this week so that by Friday it'll be a 2-page thing, and there you go. So that'll do the first part of this story, and then I'm off to do a bunch of 1 pages again. And if you stick around to the end of this stream today, I have a very exciting announcement for stuff that's coming up. Let's see, lots of changes. Where do I start? Excuse me, with the drink. First change number 1, uno. This camera is new. And hiya, Tori, welcome aboard. Good to see you. So this camera is new, and then the overhead setup is new. And there we go. Working on the lighting. It'll take me another minute to get that figured out, but that's okay. I thought I'd just get going today. And in addition to that, I've picked up some new tools. The other thing that's new is that you can hopefully hear me now, because I picked up a microphone, a much better microphone that I wear, and it goes with me. So when I'm turning this way to get whatever, and I'm going over here to get whatever, and I phase in and out with volume, and that should stop happening. And this fella is set up on an autofocus, so you should be able to stay with me there. So Tori says, "Well, looking and sounding good." Thank you, Tori. That's very nice. Yeah. So it's just been a case of reorganizing some things in the studio to make the streams more palatable, I think, for people, because the quality was whatever the quality was, and I haven't really been worried about that. But at the same time, I recognize that on some level, come on, Chris, it's important. So that's why we've cleaned things up a little bit. In addition to that, I've picked up some new toys. So, anyways, the page that's on the screen right now is page number 11 that I posted today for the first time in, I think, a week and a half. And page 11 of the ongoing story. And by the end of this week, Friday, I will have 14 and 15 posted as well. So the first part of the sci-fi story will be there. So overhead, shooing. Anyways, I'm working on the lighting right now because I don't want it to be too overdrawn, because when it's overdrawn, it just flashes out a lot, is what I would find. So I just haven't found quite the right mix yet of placement of the cameras. And when I do, it'll look a little more white as our base. Another thing that I picked up, so I've been using these for a long time, okay? And what these are is Prismacolor color erase pencils. And the Prismacolor color erase pencils are fantastic, but they're also discontinued. And so the challenge, just come in. Sorry, 1 second. Corbin. Come on. Hurry up. Come in, buddy. Hello. Come sit down. And he's very vocal. So one of the problems with these pencils is that because they're discontinued, and I'm sure you could find some, similar style of pencils. I know I've seen one from, I think it was Laurentian, but I didn't like them. So the problem here is that as the lead runs out, they're gone. And I only have X amount of those left, and so I needed to come up with a solution. And so what I thought I'd do is just switch to mechanical pencils. And, because then I don't necessarily have to worry about the lead so much. The problem with that is that I have never really fully got the hang of mechanical pencils. But I don't see, so the thing with HB lead is that, and this is a nice one, but the thing with HB lead is that I don't know, I just don't connect to that as readily as I do with pencil crayon. So these color erase pencils is a nice sort of middle ground of that. And so with those disappearing, I went online and I went to Pilot, and Pilot, I got this set of pencils. And normally when you get like a set of pens or pencils and they come in all these lovely colors, each of these is just a nice pretty color for you. But in this case, in this scenario, the colors that you see on these pens, well, this is a purple lead, this is a pink lead, these are yellow lead, these are red, green, orange, dark blue, and light blue. And so I got the whole of this set. And what's really cool is that they come with, see that? You can hear me when I turn around now. I hope you can. But they came with all of these leads. So when I run out of the green, I refill the green. And if I run out of all, and they have one for each of the pencils, and if I run out of any specific one, I can order them. Even if I'm ordering a set of the leads, the beautiful thing about these is that when these run out, they're gone. And then when these run out, I refill them. I know that sounds really basic and duh, Chris, duh. But truth be told, we get so caught in a rut when we're using specific tools that we sometimes don't necessarily allow ourselves to fully assess the possibilities of other tools around us. And in this case scenario, I'm trying not to do that. In this case scenario, Tori says, oh, wow, that makes things easier. I'll go look for those. Oh, yeah. So they're produced by Pilot, Pilot. And there's a deluxe set that you can get that comes with all of 8 pencils and the leads with them. Or you can buy the pencils alone that have lead inside of them, or you can buy the leads alone, which is what I mean by you can resupply yourself. Now, in Canada, the price on those, just for the leads alone, I think the price was $20 Canadian, which is like a nickel American. Right, Corbin? Corbin is now helping me in the studio. You want to say hi? Hey, everybody, how you doing? It's me, Corbin. Right on. Right on. There you go. Okay. So, yeah. So, I'm sorry. So, I'm really looking forward to these. And I've been utilizing them a little bit already in the original pencil art. Where did I set it? I just had it. We just had it, Corbin. We just had it. So the original pencil art for this ongoing story, I have been drawing using the old traditional lead, the pencils, and now I have switched them to, so here is the purple traditional pencil, color erase pencil that is, lead, and I switched over to the pink of all things, which is a little hard to see in camera, but it's not harder to see in a scan. It scans out at the same value. So that's exciting to know. The only thing that doesn't necessarily scan so easily are the yellows. So if you're doing line art with the yellow, it may well scan, but you're going to have to, enhance that scan X amount of times. You're going to have to darken those lines up. So I've got a couple things organized at the moment, and I thought I might give you a little idea of some things that are coming up as well. So I picked up these pencils. Recently I talked about the Staedtler markers, the pigment brush pens. These are phenomenal. I truly enjoy these, and I've been doodling with them a little bit and having some fun with that. It makes it harder to do things when you're attacking my elbow, Corbin, if that's your real name. So here is me. Now I've got 3 of earth tones. Okay, 3 earth tone colors. Uno, dos, and tres. And then I've got, which is I think your umber, your ochre, and your sienna. And then it came with 3 different grays as well. And so this is playing with the earth tones, and then this is playing with the gray markers. And so you can get an awful lot of things. There's a King Kong drawn with the gray. And then I added a black Kotobukiya to that. So you can get some different things. This is me playing with the colored pencils. And if you can see the yellow in that, that's great, but I don't think you can, because it doesn't, this is just scribbling. So this is testing some of these new tools out, these new drawing tools. And the thing that I like to do is to have a little compartment of, and I'll show you. I like to have a little compartment that I can carry with me, and inside of that is a number of different drawing implements, right? And so there's these watercolor, like these water-based markers with a chisel tip and a regular pen tip. There's some colored pens that are in there, and now I can add those colored pencils to this mix, as well as these bad boys. So if I'm sitting someplace, waiting 5 minutes of, downtime, but I got an idea in my head, I've got this in a sketchbook on me, and quick and easy, I can do whatever I need to do. Now, this is the size of a pencil box, so it's easily transportable, and in combination with, so here's a regular size sketchbook, 8.5 by 10. There's your pencil box, and yahoo! So that makes it easier for me. I also have a little book that I carry with me. It's the plot workbook, and this is about the different books that I've got completing right now, the different projects that I'm finishing off that we'll be releasing in the next year. So the sci-fi story is all, these are these pages that I've posted at the time, and since then there's been a number of additional pages posted. And so this is plotting out this book. So I'll do these little thumbnails like this, where I'll lay out a story, and then, as I'm finishing said story, or I'm getting to some point where I need to do some review, it's difficult to have to scan through all of these separate pages, or fish up all the original art. And sometimes, in this case, the original art is 11 by 17, so now I got to go through all these pages, but the original art doesn't have the text on them. What was the story point here? What was the plot point here? As I'm going forward, just to check back, did I already say this thing, in the script, and to just to finalize some of what's going on. So I do these thumbnails, and they help me out in that process. And so this is a way that I keep track of the pages. So this is the 40-page book, A Village Haunted, that's got a few more pages to be finished, and this is me adding together, all of the more than one-page stories that I've done in the last 2 years that aren't applicable to something else. And what I mean by applicable to something else is the number of the one-page pieces that I would release over the course of the last 2 years are things that in review are being all collected into one larger story. And so that's what this is assembling together, and all of these different stories that you've seen on the stream. So, and on Instagram. So, and that will be a hardcover that we have slated for the fall. So that's the next coming book that's coming up. So one of the other processes that I do when I showed this at the end of the year for those on Patreon, is that I do these rough breakdowns of pages, and rather than furthering them on in any way, I do these and then I let them, I just set them aside, right? Like it's just a fun little mental exercise. Next, and so I do a whole bunch of these in this book, and in another sketchbook I have a similar. But what I also, because it's all pre-lined like this, and it's pre-lined for anime, which is a wider page, so I just put 2 lines inside, and then it wrote the proper size page for Western comic book pages. And so what I do is I then take that opportunity to work out some thumbnails, in this case, in a nice red color erase pencil. And so I work out these thumbnails for these projects that I'm concluding, and helps to keep me organized. So this is something that I used to do on a regular basis, and I got away from, but I've got back into play now, and it's because I've got so many things on the go at the moment. And I find that there's a benefit to that when you've got X amount of projects on the go. It helps you to figure out a way in order to not so much keep yourself motivated, but maybe just to keep yourself with some measure of focus, right? And another method is to have folders. This is a folder that contains all of this sort of ideation that I did for this sci-fi story that I'm doing, and all of these different, little forays and explorations of the ideas that I might want to try to implement, or costumes or characters, or whatever I can think of. There's outfits there. What's this one? And so in a case where you might do that across multiple sources, it's okay to photocopy those pages and put them into your folder here. But at the same time, whenever I'm scribbling on paper, and if it's something that I want to utilize later, or try to possibly pull from, I'll throw it in this folder so that I can come back to that. So that's for the sci-fi story that I posted a page from today. Hi, Linda, welcome back. I tried streaming earlier on, and then the OBS, for whatever reason, was not being agreeable. Hiya, Tim. Sorry, I forgot to say hi to Tim. I apologize. Tori says, the sketchbook is awesome. That has the pre-done page for you to add layouts. Do I know the brand? I don't know the brand. It's, but it's for anime. Now, there's lots of books out there that have comic book pages to work on, and they have these pre-lined pages. And what I mean by that is, so it'll just supply you with a number of pages, and they'll have panels built into it. And then you have to figure out how to fit your story within this business. And oftentimes, they I don't know necessarily the people that make them understand how a page works from here to here, because there'll be this big old circle that sits across here, and so how are you to read that? Because when the circle sits across here, it has a panel there, and it has a panel here, and it has a panel there. So are you to read this like this? And because this is overlapping here, the natural tendency is to go to this panel. But the intention is for them to go to that panel, and then to this panel, and then to this panel. Right? And so I find some of those pre-measured panel pages that to be problematic. Not all of them. There are some good ones. I'm trying to think of who it is. Somebody I know has done one of them, and from what I've seen, they look pretty good, but I can't remember who it is off the top of my head. The one that I'm using was, or am using, it was an anime one, which is why it's got the more broad layouts. Right? Like so. So, and there's benefit to that. Each page still looking this way, but the challenge being, in this case, these are too wide. This is closer to a North American comic, like an 11 by 17 or 17 by 11, which is what I tend to like to use in landscape format. Portrait format, right, goes this way. Landscape format goes this way. Same size of paper. In this case, it's 11 by 17. In this case, it's 17 by 11. Width by height. Right? Tori's cool, thanks. I'll see what I can find. I've seen those books, so I thought the exact same thing. With anything, there is mixed results on stuff. So with anything, you're going to have good examples and bad examples of things, and but how do you know when you're online and you're going by the cover? If you find one in a shop, there you go. Now there, more than likely, you would find one in like a comic book store, or or an art supply store, most specifically. And where people can find those, I'm not entirely sure, based on where they live. So I found the one that I'm using at a flea market, on a shelf with just a random scattering of mangas and what was it? I'm trying to think of what it was. It was that book, some manga books, and I think it was the Hardy Boys. I think it was the Hardy Boys books. There was 3 or 4 of those as well, and I'm like, this is the most. Oh! And I saw the what that black book was, and I opened it up and was very happy. But unfortunately, I have removed, as you can see in here, I've serrated out the first page because it had a big goofy manga lady in it, and who looks like they're 12, but they're developed like they're a Hollywood celebrity. So I took that out because that's not my jam. So unfortunately, I can't tell you what the actual book is. Just order it then, because that has been sent to the ether. There's different types of books like this, and you can find another type is where you have this layout on a page, and what this is for storyboarding. And so there's your storyboard, and there's your anime or comic page layout book, right? And this is your storyboard for animation or film or television. And so there is alternative forms. Now these are generally a little bit larger. I've seen them at 11 by 17, and the one that I've seen had a spiral binder as opposed to this being in a hardcover book. So, and at the same time, there are comic page layout ones specifically. And the lines that are underneath is for annotation, of course, right? Like if you want to write down what the issue is, if you want to write down the date, or for the, when I say issue, I mean the publication issue. What's this cover for, or what's this a page inside of? You know, or what characters are on it. It's just annotation for yourself for, you know, your own part and process. So, I mean, there's benefit to all of these. Now, I also have this sketchbook that I started doing the same things in, the same kind of layout. This is a regular sketchbook, so this is another thing that you can do for yourself, okay? Because sometimes those things are too hard to find. This is a $4 sketchbook from a dollar store. It's the same sketchbook as this one that I do all of these sketchily detchily doodly pages in. And so what I did in this case, though, right? So here you see that I've got four shapes laid out on the page, right? And in this case, this is a real rarity for me, is that I'm not drawing on both sides of the paper. And I'm not completely filling the paper. But on the other side of the paper is where I'm writing story ideas down. And so the way I can keep these, you know, these layouts the same size and uniform is that I have this. And all this is an 8.5 by 11 paper that the first thing I did was trim it down so that it fits inside of the sketchbook, okay? And I measured out the four layout panel sizes, same thing, times 4. And then what I do is that I put it in the book, and I put a nice fresh sheet over top of it, and I don't know if it's picking up in camera. It's picking up in camera okay, but you can, you know, see through it enough that you can measure out your new layouts to put on your page. And so, you know, and your end result, of course, is that. And what that affords you is the opportunity, and if you do preset a number of those in advance, then what that affords you is the opportunity to sit down and generate some page ideas and layouts without having to expend X amount of dollars on trying to find these pre-developed, pre-made books. And you can use this, like these are drawn in landscape format. So, you know, the old Spinnerooski. And it's the same size of layout panels. And you can also break from conformity and use different sizes of panels on a page. And different sizes yet again. You know, there's some landscape, there's some landscape, there's some portrait. So it's all about how it services you and your intentions. Whereas this is me doing studies and exploring somewhat developed layouts for pages. What I've really been doing with this one is really using it for rough work. Just because the image is X amount smaller, and because it's X amount smaller, it's hard to really scale up. And sometimes the more that we use small surfaces to draw on, and there are some people that are incredibly capable of doing that. There's a fellow, Nick, I want to say Giardino, something like that, but I'm absolutely terrible at names, so I apologize. He does these absolute brilliant little portraits of characters that are pretty much this big. You know, he does little portraits of them and little scenes that probably encompass, oops, I'm sorry. I'm apologizing for breaking a tiny piece of lead. And he'll draw small scenes that are about this big, and he colors them in with his colored markers, etc. And they're brilliant, and those work well for him. But I tend to find that the more people constrain themselves with the images that they draw, and by constraint I mean the smaller and smaller that they make them, the less and less the possibility of you to find some more free-flowing organic lines. Now, that's not to say that there isn't a whole bunch of reasons that one should measure out what works best for them. Because that's really important to do. Mobility issues at times can constrain someone's movement, and so that constraint completely makes it necessary to work on a smaller scale or to work in a more a tighter area. But if you do have the facility to work in a larger amount of space, then do so. So that's why I don't necessarily try to put together finished images in those smaller panels for an entire page. Tori says, thanks so much. It's really great advice. I've been trying to work out how to keep it uniform in the sketchbook. Yeah, so it's just an extra piece of paper, and it's just this is typewriter paper, or I guess printer paper we call it now. That's all this is. And cut down to the size of the page of the sketchbook itself, right? Divide it in half, and then the same measurements within, which I think is, I think that's 2 centimeters. So there you go. You've got your page layout, so you're off and running. And the more that you prepare in advance yourself, the more that you, pre-line these pages, then you don't have to open up your book and then go, oh, I got to line the pages up again, and where's my ruler? You don't need to worry about that. You just get cracking. So, and I leave it inside of the book. I just put it farther into the book. And the books naturally open up to this page so that it's easy to source. But I leave it inside there so that it doesn't get lost, and then I have to reline one. Where did I put it? Because we get forgetful. We get forgetful with our materials, and that's completely understandable. So another tool I got recently that I don't know that I've necessarily shown is that I picked up another small stencil. This one's quite nominal because it's got rectangular shapes, triangular shapes, circular shapes, and square shapes, right? In addition to this beauty, hexagonal shapes. Good heavens. And so when you're doing small little layouts for pages and stuff, these small shapes work great for panels, for those layout pages as you're guiding yourself up. It's got a nice ruled edge, nice flat ruled edge, so that I can, make those little measurements I might need to do for spacing that page out nicely. And then I can draw in some of those boxes easy with these pre-ruled areas. And the other thing that I got recently, which is a much thicker plastic, is this. Now this is for gauges for needles for knitting. But what it is a great opportunity for a bunch of circles. You can see it right better there at the top of the screen now. And so again, if you're working in your small, and you're trying to fit some small circles into whatever your composition is, or if you're doing it in your layout book or whatever, these two little templates of shapes are handy dandy. So, and I actually leave the blue one within that white sketchbook as well, and that way I don't have to worry about where it is. And I like that this ruler so much. I have 2 of these. I have one of them in my little travel kit there, and then I have one of them that's just sitting on my desk, because it's a handy little ruler to have, for one thing, and then all those circles built in there might afford you some ideas and opportunities along the way. Linda says, sometimes I use random paper and then I have to tip it in my sketchbook. So that's the big challenge, right? That's why I'll have these folders, and the way that I'll affix everything and keep it together is with this. It's clips. I just put a clip on the top, and that way I can keep all of these pages in one handy dandy accessible place. And for all the scribbly doodles that I got going on here that I might not want to lose some aspect of one thing or another, well, I've got them here, and some of this ideation and some of this, exploration, character shape, and so forth, it's all there for me to use. So clips, good old fashioned handy dandy clips. This is a cover I'm doing for somebody. Handy dandy clips. There's a great versatility to what they can do for you in a studio. Keep source materials together. You can use them to clip together your paper so it's firmly affixed to a surface for you. You can, if you've got different random pieces of paper kicking around that you might want to work with your mixed media stuff, you can do so by putting those together, like holding those together by a clip. I have in my studio, I'm going to pull it off my desk for a moment. Tori says I had intentions to do that too, Linda, except that I put the page down and never find it again before I even made to the book. Yeah. What a cool idea, says Tori. Clip's a great solution. So this is an elbow bracket. Okay? And you can find these at your hardware or wherever they sell bits and bobs for home repair or, whatever one might need. I have these push pins, and my tilted angle part of my desk is that it's a raised plywood piece that's 3.5 feet long by 2 feet tall. And because it's plywood and there's a porousness to it, I pinned this on so that I just stuck that pin in my arm, so that it sits on my desk like so, and I can lean things on that. And over here on the far side of my desk, I have this tray that has sharpeners, inks, some tapes, chap lip stuff, and that's resting on 2 of these, so that it helps me to keep my tools somehow organized. And then when you got handy dandy little things like this, pre-supplied little cutaways in the top of your ruler, you can just hang your ruler right then and there on that surface for you. Clip's a great solution, yeah. So the other thing that I really, 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 really get a lot of value out of is this ruler. It's by Artist Loft. You can find them at stores like in Canada we have Michael's. In the United States I think it's called Hobby Lobby. I'm not entirely sure what the similar one would be in Ireland, Great Britain, Europe. I'm not sure what those locations might be, and abroad, and beyond. But this is a fantastic ruler because it allows you to square your panels and your lines all the time. So if I run this ruler up to the top of this page and just line it up with any one of these random lines that cuts across this ruler, any of these lines that I make this way now, I know are square. I know that they're legitimately going up and down on this piece of paper. And if I need to make another line that sits across this way, well, I've got this upright line that I've drawn measuring off of here. So now I can square a line within this composition using the first line that I did that I know is actually square. Now I can draw a line across the horizontal axis as opposed to the vertical axis, which is the first line that I did. And I know that I've got a proper squared shape. So this is really handy as well, a ruler like this. It's, I think $10 Canadian, which is, I don't know, what's that? 7.5 cents American, who knows? So yeah, it's not the fancy tool that one can get the most out of. Like this thing was $3 Canadian, right? That's like $100 American, or my math's not good. So if it's, $3 Canadian in a Walmart, what are the chances that it's a little easier for people to acquire something that they're going to get a lot of utility out of? And when it comes to any of these tools, I think utility is really important. So I've already shown you this little thing I've got here with all these different color drawing tools. Below that, I have another one. And in this other one are brushes. And so these little compartments, these little containers that you can find, little pencil boxes, they're from the Craft Smart line. Craft Smart pencil box. You can find these at a dollar store. And they've got locking clips on the side. You lift the lid off. Hear that? Oh, did you hear that? Clip, clip. Maybe you didn't hear it because I'm on a... Maybe it's too far away from the mic. Here, hold on. Ooh. And I keep some brushes in there. And unfortunately, they're not big enough to hold a jar of ink. But there are other jars that are a fair amount smaller that I have that actually do fit inside of that. I just don't have any in at the moment. And then if you can find, here's another thing I keep underneath that, and that is this pencil case size watercolor set. Stackable tiers, right? So the beautiful thing about compartmentalizing some basic tools for ourselves is it makes it easier to use those at a moment's notice. Now I don't have them in here right now because I put them in my, I transferred them over to my kit box for the jam that I do each month. But the brushes that hold the water in them, where's my jam thing? The brushes that hold the water inside of the reservoir of the handle are ideal to put in those pencil cases, because then you don't need to lug around a water source. You've got the water source built right into the brush itself, bearing in mind that when that water source runs out of that brush, you got to refill it now. And having all of these different things around is a great way to just fall right into your head, just to fall right into the flow, simplifying the things that are around you, simplifying, eliminating the amount of decisions and choices you have to make for preparedness. Another thing that I have pinned on my desk at the top here, I'll pull this off. There we go. You can see the pins that are sticking in this. This is just paper towel. And so as I'm working with paint or ink or whatever it is, and I have to clean off said brush, there's paper towel already, just the wad of it folded up, pinned down to the desk. When this is, fairly messed up, I can take it and flip it over for one, or I can open it up, turn it inside out when I burp both those sides, fresh and clean, and you get the maximum amount of usage of a piece of paper towel. But at the same time, you also get the easy access of, an immediate cleaning solution should something go awry. That you've got that paper towel right there to just, you don't have to look around for it. You don't have to search for things. And so these different little ideas take up a total amount of space of your standard, little desk, your standard, you know, whatever you're going to buy at IKEA or whatever you're going to find at a department store like Walmart or whatever else, and that affords you 2 feet by 4 feet. And it's just about how we utilize that space. I have file holders on my desk like these, and inside those I have all these different stencils, and not just the typical ellipses and circle stencils, but I also have these fancy Dan things where I've got lots of little dots or leaves or stars or brick patterns or mosaics, gears, and so having accessibility to that stuff immediately again allows me to, oh yeah, wah, wah, there we go, we put it in the image that I might be working on at the moment. In the same unit, I have just sketches that I started and did nothing with. Oh, I found that I've been looking for this. So this is page 1 of the Book of Mark. This is, I set it down 2 days ago, and I'm like, where did I put it? I put it right in the spot that it's supposed to be in. You know? Way to go, Christopher. We found it. I'm not putting you back in there. But little sketches of ideas like this. You know, we can keep those later to utilize somewhere else. I'm sorry. You know, and that's a page for a book, etc., etc. Just scribbling and doodling and having fun. And so when you've got like, well, both Tori and Linda had mentioned about you doing drawings on random pieces of paper and then you lose them. If you have one of these on your work area, you just take said pieces of paper and put them in there. And so they're right there on your desk and you know where they are now. So when you do sit down with your sketchbook and you open it up to affix all of the random drawings that you've done into that sketchbook, well, they're all right there for you to utilize. I also have one of these at my desk, and this is a Laura Secord chocolate box. I think it's a chocolate box. And so once those were gobbled up by the family, I put this together. And so this just holds a whole bunch of black and white mark making tools and a couple of those color erase drawing pencils I told you about. See, here's another one of those little rulers, right? Here's a scrap of some paper that we've got here that's got, you know, some notes or some scribbles or getting some of the testing the ink out on your tools. A broken piece of ruler, but this was the operating ruler that I had for a long time until I found these. And there's an extra set of Fudenosuke pens that for, you know, in case I'm like, none of these tips work. Well, there I go. So, yeah. And then the last compartmentalized thing that I have for travel, these are printer's ink blobs. And so each of these are dry. Okay, start off there. But there's tackiness to them because when you put water to these, it reactivates the ink. And I can use these for ink drawings. And, you know, I've got a nice little range of colors. And then some of these mixed units is because I'll take some of the existing colors that I have and make sienna, umber. There's a nice green, like an olive green. And yeah, so, and I keep them in this airtight little container, again, dollar store, for making ice cubes. But because it has this sealable lid, that's good to go. And it is roughly the same size as the pencil cases that we talked about. So if you know, well, I'm not going to tilt the camera around to show you. If you can imagine, I have this 5-stack high pencil. There's the watercolor container. There's the pencil case that has the brushes in it. There's the pencil case in it that has the different colored mark making tools. And on top of that sits this. And so I've got the access to watercolor. I've got the access to ink. I've got the brushes that are preloaded with water inside the reservoir of them, and then there's additional brushes besides that if I have easy access to a water reservoir. And, you know, it just allows me to be good to go. So Linda says, that's a good sized bin for collecting the random papers. It's this, you know, it's the strange solutions that really do work. It's the strange, simple things that make available to us the clarity that we might require in order to allow ourselves to drop into the flow. Having eliminated roadblocks to keep you from creating makes it so much easier for you to you know, get in touch with yourself, to get in communication with yourself, to you know, find yourself producing things in the way and measures of which you would like, without having to do all of the setup, you know, without you having to do all of the finding of your things. You've just got a basic sort of accommodation nearby. You know, I love stuff like that. I love simplicity in and of itself. And, you know, I just thought I'd share some of those things about tools and some of these new ones that I've added to the mix. I also have on my tabletop here on my desk, this is a vinyl covering for drawers. It's a mesh type vinyl. And what this is for when, you know, you put your dishes tray or your silverware tray inside your drawer so it doesn't clang around. This holds it in place. And then you throw your silverware in there, and you know that when you open and close said drawer, it doesn't rattle around. Well, what this is also great for is that when you lay a drawing board down or something like that on top of it, it tends not to slide a lot. But there's a quick fix to that, and it's something we already talked about. This is another one of these elbow brackets. Now this one's a little different looking than the first one I showed you, but both work just the same. I prefer this one because it's shorter, right? So I take this, and I'll show you using a smaller clipboard. So I take this, I put it on the surface, and then you're going to move over here. So here it is on the surface there, right? And it tends to keep your sketch or your working surface, your clipboard of paper or your drawing board or whatever it is. It stays there now, and nothing's, you know, screwed in or fixed in any sort of physical way. This is literally just sitting on the vinyl, and so you can see I've had to have numerous sheets to cover the surface, but you know the principle is still there. And so that's it. One simple thing, and it holds everything in place now, so that when I'm drawing during the stream, I know that it's not scattering hither and yon. It's staying right where it's supposed to now. Right? Again, the simplicity of a thing can afford us clarity. And because of this vinyl that I'm talking about, covering this surface, this board is on a 35-degree angle. So it's not a flat surface. It's a pitched surface, so that when I'm drawing, if you're drawing on a flat surface, you're going to have a strange perspective in your drawings. And it's largely because you're warping your drawing from the fact that you're looking at it from here on this angle, and so you're unconsciously going to make that stretched out. So by putting it on a 35-degree angle or something, whatever's comfortable for you, you can make your drawings more properly proportioned. So all your pens and stuff's going to roll off, right? But if you've got this vinyl on here, then when you lay your pencil down, if you lay it down, it's going to roll, right? But if you just put it sideways, you don't have to worry about it sliding down. Like if you have it here, right, and you're on an angle, it's possibly going to slide down. So, right? There's it's this nice surface here that was holding it on. Anything else, just it falls down. So by having the vinyl, none of these things slide. So, and again, you can find these shelf liners at dollar stores, buck or twos, Rambles, but it's those little solutions that can give us a big result. That knife, so these are erasers, by the way. I thought that these were different kinds of chiseled tips on these. Nice little wooden handle, little metal neck on it. But I thought they were different tips for modeling clay. And so I bought these to use with my grandkids when we were making little clay figurines. And before I got a chance to, I was showing somebody something, and I just thought, wait a minute. And I rubbed it across a doodle I had, and it erased those lines out. And I went, are these erasers? Because they weren't even listed as erasers. But there they are. I find these really handy. So you can even get really good quality erasers at dollar stores, but they may appear rather unconventional. But at the same time, honestly, I like having the handle to hold on to it with, because my hands are shaped a little ginky, so because of my nervous system. But it's handy to me. And then of course, one of these electric erasers, and you put the different eraser bits inside this little clip that squeezes onto them and then locks into the neck, and so it oscillates, and in that oscillation it allows you to erase quite aggressively. I don't know, can you see that erased line across the center? So when you've got those fine little pieces of detail that you've got to get in there and cut those out, right? Little dots, whatever it is. These are great. And you can get more of these sizes of erasers at art supply stores. Handy. You can also find them at places like Walmart and that too, but you want to make sure that the right size to fit in here. So yeah, that's a quick little view of what I've got kicking around here in the old Studio. And so I thought that what I'd do is sit down today and start putting together another one page here. And so I'm going to do it larger than normal than, I was doing the last so many of them, just because, oops, I'm sorry. I have been working in a certain scale on this little space story, and I'm tired of it, and I want to try a different scale. It's going to take a second for the camera, or for the lights to acclimatize, because I went and flashed them out by putting a big white surface in there. Okay, so I'm going to use some of these colored pencils that I talked to you about. Let's find something in the book. We've got most of these things done, for heaven's sakes. I went through here and I tried to check off most things. And then I realized halfway through, as I was getting kind of bored, that I didn't finish this project. I didn't finish checking off all the things I should be checking off. Okay, if Canada was a theme park, would it have a mascot? Or would it have a mascot? Sorry. So I'll write it down here. And and there's no name attached to that one. If Canada had a theme park, what would be its mascot? So there's our one-page suggestion. Okay, so there's our one-page suggestion for today. So I'm just going to start drawing. So I got to move a couple things over because I've been shifting everything around here with showing you stuff. So if Canada had a theme park, what would be its mascot? Or if Canada, I think it was Canada was a theme park. So, so there's our suggestion for today. I'm just going to move this over here. So I thought, let's just draw. Now, I've got this light blue pencil, and I wanted to show an approach that you can get from using different colored pencils like this, is that you can really lightly pencil in your image. So you can see the oval shape of the head here, and there's the structure of the face. Okay, and so I haven't been doing this enough, and I feel that maybe it's been a disservice to people that are trying to figure out some drawing things from tuning in. So there's your rough layout, and then you've got your shape language in place really lightly. If Canada was a theme park, what would be its mascot? Thank you, Linda. And hiya, Jim. Welcome aboard, sir. Okay, so if you use one of these lighter colored pencils, they're great for roughing your shapes in. And if you do so, you don't have to press very deeply, for doing that. You can just lightly scribble in those shapes for yourself and give yourself a sort of layout of where you're going to put the parts of your page. Welcome aboard, everybody, by the way, that I haven't said hi to yet. I think this microphone setup is much better now. So I'm putting in eyes, and here's the nose. So here's our person positing the question of, if Canada was a theme park, what would be our mascot? Okay, so here's our character. So this is where I would go over and get a hold of one of these other colored pencils now. And so now I can come in and I can pick and choose out some of these details in the layout that I've just set down on my image, and I can come back in and erase out all the errata after the fact. But by coming in and adding in those details, it sort of saves me, it saves you a lot of thinking. You've already roughed it in light. You did it really loosely so that there's 5 or 7 different lines right here with the hair, or the top of the head here for figuring out where the hairline is. That really, because you're going over it in a darker value, you're not going to see these, right? Like this is, now you've chosen the one out of those that you want to use. And so these other ones that are in here just get incorporated into the hair, or you erase them out after the fact. But they're nice pencils and they show up, but at the same time, they're easy to remove. Where's that Mr. Buzzy? So all those extra lines are gone. It's just handy dandy. So if I put our young lady in here, she's looking up. So I'll have this character sort of thinking to themselves, thinking aloud. And what I enjoy about using these things is that while they're color arrays, they're not non-photo, in that I can scan them with my scanner here in the studio and transfer them over to Photoshop and convert them into like a black and white line. So or black line on a, like as a transparency, so that I can color beneath them, which is what the process you're seeing me do with these. So that's how that page is done. It's drawn in one of these colored pencils, and then I transfer it over to the computer, turn that colored pencil line into black line art, and then put another layer underneath and color that. It's just filling in. It's just coloring in. It's coloring in my own pictures. But I find that sometimes I'll color things digitally. Some things I color traditionally. I don't tend to like inking my own drawings, just because I find it somewhat monotonous. So I'm always trying to figure out workarounds and thinking, in that way, that whatever I can do to make the shortest steps for a long walk, I'm going to do that. So now I'm adding some more character to our young person here who's thinking aloud, and closeting the question that is the suggestion of today's page. Canada was a theme park. What would be its mascot? It's a good question. I think that what's fun with this is that we get to have all kinds of answers. So I'll post this for the weekend, by the way. I'll finish it today, show it in the stream tomorrow, but I'll post it for the weekend because I'm going to be posting the last, including today, the last 5 pages of this part of the sci-fi story that I've been putting up. It's got a real humzinger to it, a real humzinger of a page 15. Oh my goodness. Where's my thing over there? Doing what it's doing. I don't know. There it away, Chris. So there's drawing in this young person as they're asking himself this question. I'm going to give a little bit of dramatic shadow to their face. And so if we're going to have this light source coming from this angle to project shadow on that side of the face, this hair is going to put some shadow on that forehead, that eye, and a little bit on that cheek. So, and then of course we go under the chin next because, again, our light source is over here, right? Right. Now, if you want to keep a nice fine tip as you're drawing with one of these mechanical pencils, holding it on an angle and every now and then turning it, right? Just a tiny little bit to the side keeps that chiseled tip. You know, you're gonna, of course, you're gonna eventually have to go click, put another piece of lead out, but, or another extension on the same piece of lead, I guess it would be. So let's continue on with the hair here. So put some of those details in for the ear. So here's our person asking the question. Canada was a theme park, what would be its mascot? It doesn't smudge either of these pencils, which is very handy, very nice, because I am always brushing off the surface as I'm working, and oftentimes with using HB graphite or things like that, you can just smudge it right across your drawing. And that is antagonistic for me. Antagonizes me, I guess. So I try not to do that. So for those of you that were here earlier and you got the whole little tool walkthrough talking about these mechanical color erase pencils that I picked up, and the opportunity that they afford. So yeah, so I got through this big workload of things to be done, most of it, and so now I'm back to, you know, doing some streaming, and with the new cameras and the new setup and the new microphone setup, optimally, it's going to be easier for people to follow along. So, okay. My apologies for all of the bad qualities. So, drawing a neckline in on our person here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to come through. So you barely see any of that original blue line now. But what is there, or what was there, will no longer be there, because I'm just going to just go in and lightly take those out that aren't already covered up by the second color that I used. Hopefully you can still hear me over the buzzing of the crazy eraser. You should be able to, because the microphone's right here, right? That's another benefit of this type of microphone over what I've been using. I have a hard time with pulling the trigger on things like that. I'm really, what's the word? Cheap. And it was Lori that said, you need to order one. So we ordered one. And then it took me a few minutes to figure out how to make it go. And we did that. So, oh, happy day. There we go. So here's our character. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this squaring ruler I talked about and find that guideline along the top edge of the paper. And that's going to help me square off the extent that I want this image to go. And I'll just fill this in right down to shoulder line. Clean that up. And then I'm going to square off of the side of the paper to get my nice horizontal line set up here on the page without having to overthink it. And so there's our first panel coming in. Linda says, please thank Lori for us. It's good to hear you better. Oh, that's very nice of you, Linda. Thank you. Yeah, I will do so. We know who's the one with all the smarts in this relationship. I'm not necessarily, I'm not just cheap. Like, you know, when anybody else needs something, I'll be like, oh, okay, let's get it. But when it comes to me, it's like, I hem and haw forever. So here's our person putting forth the question, if Canada was a theme park, what would be its mascot? Now, we can play with the idea of the background of this open-ended panel, and we can put a Canadian flag behind her, or there we go. So there's the extent of our character here in our first panel. Now, another thing that I'll do, and I've shown this before, Jim, does Canada already have a mascot? Is this a Jim? Canada isn't a theme park? It's not. It's just hard to believe. There's the American president has made statements that Canada should just be another state of the America, United America there. And one of our premiers, much like the American senators, we have premiers of our provinces. And she suggested that we negotiate with California to join Canada because we're more like-minded as a country and as a state. And I just thought that was funny. Just doubling down like that. Oh yeah, well maybe we'll get Canada or California to join us. So be careful out there, Californians. You're going to have to, start wearing more plaid there, eh? Get yourself a good old toque there. Get yourselves accustomed to snow, because if you join Canada, we're going to send snow your way. Those are the rules. So I put this darker line from this purple drawing mechanical pencil, this purple lead. And the reason that I do a darker value around the periphery of this first image is that whatever I draw behind it now, there's a separation of planes, so that because there's this hard line around the extremis here, then if I use the same color to draw the background area, this darker line here helps me to differentiate one plane from the next. Even though I'm the one drawing it and will be the one coloring it, it's still those tiny little things that make your thinking process much easier on yourself. It's the tiniest things that we can do to expedite our time. And so in this instance, by not having to think, well, is that the edge of their shoulder or what? I can just get on with it. And because I know the edge of her shoulder is where that purple line is. So it's those kinds of things that I'm always thinking about. All right, well, just checking the time over here. So I can put a Canadian flag in behind there, or why don't I do that? So if Canada was a theme park, so here I am using this really light colored roughing pencil. So I'm just really loose lines and I'm scribbling in the composition here, shapes. And then this way, you know, I can move things around a little bit, make some mistakes. But there's our shape for our flag. You know what, I might change the direction of that, the pole that this is attached to, so that gives a little more form to it, and then extends out the panel a little bit. So, so here's our rough shape for our flag and behind, and so now I'm going to come through with that darker pencil, and I'm going to pick out that specific line from the 3 or 4 that are roughed across here to help us define the shape of the flag as it's billowing in the wind. The answer, my friend, is billowing in the wind. The answer is billowing in the wind. I'm pretty sure that's how it goes. Well, it goes like this. Anyways, so there we go. So there's our flag, and I use a little peppy here and put in our flag. Our flag pole. The pole of flags everywhere. Like so. So, and then our panel will square off this top, and then we'll square off the top of our flag to fit to our panel size, and clean up our edges. So people don't understand the magic. We've concealed the magic. We also don't want all of this errata, all of this extra line work appearing as we scan it, and then we convert it to black lines, and now we've got all these random little gray lines in our background. You know, unless you like that part of process to appear. I hope everybody is staying safe. Specifically in all these places where there's fires and everything else going on. I hope everybody's being well and safe and taking care of themselves, and keep the revolution on the down low, you know what I mean? So, Canadian flag's a fun one. It's hey, what do you think we put on our flag there, eh? Oh, I don't know. What about this leaf? Oh, that's a great idea there, bud. Maple leaf, ain't it? Oh, yeah, we get maple sugar out of there. Oh, right on. Love maple. Let's go have some maple sugar, bud. That's how we came up with our flag. You can't just put a leaf on there, pal. I've been thinking about it. We'll put 2 red bands on the sides of it. Oh, that sounds perfect. The Canadian flag. Hey, what do we call our first big hockey team? Hey, why don't we call them the Canadians? Oh, yeah, no, well, that's a good idea. Oh, hey, we got another one. What do you call that? Oh, what's it called now? It's called the St. Pat's. Why don't we just call it after the Leafs, just like the rest of Canada? Oh, yeah, good. That's how we think of things here. That's the extent of it. Your electronic eraser sounds like the opening music from Even Better Than The Real Thing by U2. No Bono voice needed. There you go. Yeah, that's what it does. Anyways. Now that song stuck in my head. So I'm going to use this light blue. Fill in the flag here. I'm not, again, I don't get too caught up in when I put the word balloons into a page, I don't get too caught up about where I allocate those unless they're following the course of direction on the page. When it comes to covering up pictures that I've drawn along the way, in the backgrounds and so forth, they're there to surface the story. So if that means I'm going to cover up the details, then so be it. After the space story posts happened this week, one of the things that we're switching to on Patreon is showing the art, the finished art, without text. So you can see all the things that are underneath. Because somebody informed me a week ago that they, rather than seeing the line art, or rather than seeing, whatever random images I'm slamming together to make this page, can they just see what the finished assembled art looks like without all the words on it? I don't like words. Even better than nothing. Jim. Never going to be able to use this eraser again without thinking of 100, 200. Anyways. So there we go. So there's our page, our first panel for our page today. And I'm going to fill in our poll there. So the young lady is asking the question that is the suggestion for the page. If Canada was a theme park, what would be its mascot? Now, Rick Mercer is a Canadian comedian and all-around character. He used to do a program as part of the television show, this hour's 22 Minutes, where he would do this segment called Talking to Americans. And then when he went on and did his own show, the Mercer Report, he would do it there as well. And so he would go to American campuses and ask the students and the professors there questions about, how much do you know about Canada? And he would ask really ridiculous questions like, so our House of Commons, because as you know, Canada's up north and everything's really cold there. So our House of Commons is actually built out of ice, and because of global warming, that ice has started to melt. So we've been thinking, how do we hold on to our traditional House of Commons, our political building, like your White House, without it melting on us? So we've been considering using synthetic ice instead of just rebuilding it with traditional ice. Do you think we should use the traditional, or do you think we should switch to synthetic? And unbelievably, people would, of course, answer, well, I think you should switch to synthetic, because all that detail that comes in the later part of that question about the actual query itself, all the preamble to that, they disregard. So they don't factor into the fact that, Canada isn't, we go up to the Arctic, but all of Canada isn't frozen. And our major government buildings aren't built out of ice. But it's fun and silly bits of comedy. And if you like to check those out and see how little the average person knows about their neighbor, there's a good way to do it. Okay, so here's our flag. Here's our first person putting forward the question, you know, if Canada was a theme park, what would be its mascot? Oh, there we go. So, yeah, I'll get this thing finished, and I will post it for this weekend, just because I'm going to finish posting the space story. But I'll show tomorrow, during tomorrow's stream. Now, there's an important date coming up, for me at least, on February 18th. And here with the stream. And so, well, and just generally what I do. So it's, I'll let you guys know now, we haven't started promoting it yet, but February 18th is the release of a project. And so we're excited to do those things. So I'll be giving more announcements later on, but in the meantime, so there we go. There's today's image, the first panel for a new one-page story based on if Canada was a theme park, what would be its mascot? And yeah, we'll get this finished tonight and have this available on tomorrow's stream for people to see the line art and the scan of it. And I'll be posting it for the weekend. But in the meantime, keep an eye out. If you're interested, if you go back to the start of January on this project that we've been doing on Instagram and Facebook, I've been showing one continuous story. And today, part 11 went up. And so by the end of the week, because Friday I'll be putting up 2 pages. And so that'll be the end of part 1 by Friday. And I have the next 4 pages ready to go. So yeah, that'll take us up to page 15 of this project, and yeah, lots of exciting things to talk about and to look forward to in February and beyond. So yeah, keep your ear to the ground there for the bad sound there. Yeah. So yeah. All right, that's about it for me today. Thank you very much to everybody coming by, and to Linda, the moderator with the mostest. And I hope that everybody's been well and safe. And if you're interested in any of the artsy tips or whatever about how to simplify your organized small space, feel free to check out this video at the beginning, where I talk about a lot of that stuff and a lot of the little containers and pencil cases and stuff that I have a nice little stack of, and file box that I keep the immediate things I'm working on in, and stencils, and things like using the vinyl on your drawing surface so that nothing slides off on you. All that sort of jazz is there. And I hope and I appreciate everybody putting up with my bad sound for some time now. And yeah, so hopefully this is going to give us a lot better opportunities for you to hear me as I'm babbling on. Tori says, thanks loads, Christopher, take care all. Linda says, thumbs up everyone, thank you. Thanks everyone for coming by, and thanks Christopher. Thank you, Linda. Okay, that's it for me today, folks. I'll be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. EST, and I hope to see you there. If anybody's got any questions about stuff or any of the things that I talked about today, feel free to put it in the comments or put it in whatever, and I'll let you know some of the things that I, maybe ideas of where you can find those things if you didn't get a chance to write those down. Okay, that's it. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now. Thanks very much, everybody.